Welcome to another episode of Unscripted with Marilyn Morales. Today's episode comes to you from Izzy's Legacy Inc. We are a nonprofit organization that specializes in education of individuals on joining the NMDP, Bone Marrow Stem Cell Registry. There's a lot of people out there that are waiting for their match. If you're somebody that suffers from a blood cancer or disorder, sometimes the only treatment available for you is that stem cell, potentially bone marrow transplant. And most times you will not find your match within your family. So you have to go onto this registry of volunteers who are willing to donate their stem cells to save your life. Now, we have to do our part and get onto that registry and say yes to saving somebody's life in life. If you want to know more information about how to do that, how to get on this registry, and what that journey is like, go to izzyslegacyinc.org and learn how you can help. Well, my next guest is someone that I spoke to recently. We were connected by a mutual friend. And when I heard her story and how she is looking to change and impact the world, I said, I got to have you on my show. So I want her to share her journey and what she is going to do next. But let me read her bio. Her name is Claire Wetmore. She is a passionate advocate for financial education, dedicated to empowering parents and families to build, save, and protect their wealth while leaving a lasting legacy. It's a lot of us out there trying to leave a legacy. Born and raised in Vermont, Claire's journey from her early days working with horses and welding. Now, that's something I need to get into, welding. When I read this, I was like, did I read that right? To becoming a leading public speaker and financial consultant is nothing short of inspiring, and I agree with that statement. Claire's career has been a rich tapestry of experiences. Her diverse background is a testament to her commitment to helping others, a drive that ultimately led to her focus on financial education. Recognizing the profound impact that financial stability can leave on a family's future, Claire has made it her mission to break generational curses and address money-related anxieties. Don't we need Claire in our lives? Yes, we do. Let's welcome Claire to the show.
Hi,
Good
good morning. Thank you for that.
What a background. What a background. And when I was reading that, I was like, okay, there's a lot of stuff that you and I didn't talk when we spoke, right? Before. And I was like, okay, we got to go back. So
Long way back.
Yeah, all the way back, because that's what shapes you for your future, right? These experiences that you have as a young girl, as a young woman, it's going to prepare you for the next steps. So even though we may not in our minds be able to connect those dots, I'm sure in a way you have connected those dots on how welding, horses, and those kind of experiences have led you to what you do today.
Yeah, honestly, it's been quite a journey. Some of it didn't always make sense at the time. Sometimes it was tough. I was just, why am I here? Why is this happening to me? And then, down the road, one of the biggest lessons I think I've ever learned in life is that instead of asking why, you ask, what is this teaching me?
Very, very good point. Very good point. Talk to me about those experiences. Share with our viewers, because they don't know you, right? They don't know the experiences that you've been through and who makes you who you are. And include with me a little bit about the welding. Get into this, because I need to know what that's about.
So I spent 23 years in Vermont. I was raised on a horse farm. My mom was into horses. I grew up riding. And my mom and dad didn't really get along very well. I was kind of tossed between them and my grandma. My mom had a lot of midlife crises that she turned into vacations. She did the best she could, but I know that nobody taught her. And therefore, ultimately, I am the generational curse breaker in the family. And I stand by that. I'm very proud of that. But my dad was my real hero. And so he's the one that encouraged me to get into welding. I don't know if he wanted a boy or not, but he got a girl who's a tomboy.
So was he a welder?
He was, yes. He's a
Okay.
full-time carpenter now. We just celebrated his 60th birthday on a cruise ship in Alaska. Um,
Nice.
so yeah, he's doing good. He's doing good. But um, so when I was 18, no, I was 17, my mom kind of kicked me out of the house. And so I kind of turned to friends and family who weren't, it's not that they were bad, the path wasn't supposed to be mine.
Yeah.
Um, and we drank a lot, and I mean, you live in Vermont, there's nothing to do but mud and drink. So there's a lot
Oh,
of snow up there, so we had a good time.
wow.
Um,
Hey,
but
it's
then
an
when I was
experience, right? It's an experience.
yes, yes,
What
yes.
I'm glad you're not stuck there though. The important piece to this is yeah, you're gonna have fun. When you're young, you're gonna try different kinds of things, right? But don't stay stuck there.
Yeah,
Acknowledge
exactly.
and recognize that that's not your path and that's not what you're meant for. Because
Exactly.
it's easy to go down that rabbit hole, right? And
Mhm.
I'm sure maybe unfortunately you had friends who stood there and went down that rabbit hole, but you didn't,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
There was something in the back of my mind that was like, "This isn't for you, and you need to do something about it." And I ignored it for a long time, but thankfully, when I was 23, I took a good long hard look in the mirror, and I decided that, if I stayed, I didn't like the way it looked.
Mhm.
So ultimately, I had $500 to my name, and I packed up and I told everybody that I was leaving, and I left.
So
I
you were
didn't
living with
really.
friends? You were living with friends at the time?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah. So you said
Um,
I'm out.
I ended up going to Kentucky. I had a couple friends there, and I joke because like I kind of threw a pin at the map, and I landed in Kentucky. Um, and I learned very fast how hard life is outside of your comfort zone. Um,
Mm,
when you're on your own, you gotta make it work. You gotta figure it out. Um,
right.
and then I spent the last 5 years really diving into personal development. I discovered Jim Rohn when I was there in Kentucky. Um, he was definitely one of the people that inspired me to be a millionaire by 31. So we got 2 years left.
Wow, here we go. Yeah, listen, make sure that you give us your secrets.
um, and then when I spent 2 years in Kentucky, and then I got a job offer to ride cutting horses in Texas. Um, and I was jumping on that. I was like, I'm not passing that up. Um, Now, I don't recommend this to all young ladies, but I had a phone call with the guy, and I packed up and left again, and I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but it turned out okay. Um,
Yeah, in
my life,
retrospect, you can look at that and say,
yeah.
maybe
I was like,
not
maybe
so
you shouldn't
smart.
do that. Maybe you should figure things out and ask for advice and talk to people who are doing better than you are. But I mean, it worked out.
Thank God. Right?
Yeah. But then when I was riding cutting horses. I was really broke. They pay you just enough to live there and stick around and not much more. Um, and that's just the industry. It's not really like those people that I was with. It was just kind of the industry. It was a great experience. I traveled a lot. I loved riding, but it's a lot of work, and I got burned out fast. And I was broke. Like I was broke. I lived there. I mean, I didn't have a savings account. I didn't have an emergency fund. I didn't have a retirement. Nobody taught me any of that. Nobody said, here's how you do all the things to get you ahead in life. I mean, my grandma taught me how to write a check, but now we don't really write checks much anymore. So how did that translate
Yeah.
into the future? Um, and so like we were talking about having connections, I had a friend who I used to work with in Vermont who we kind of stayed in touch, but not really. Well, she contacted me randomly out of the blue. I thought it was out of the blue, but it was fate. And she's like, "Hey, my cousin's like with this company, and they're working on some stuff, and I think you should really take a look at this because they're changing lives." And I'm like, "Well, I have 15 minutes. I'll jump on, in between rides." And
Yeah.
turns out that was what changed my life forever. The company is Revolution Financial Management. I am so grateful for them. They taught me everything I know. Um, and now I'm taking that and trying to help people who are in my shoes, especially parents, single parents, young adults, people who may not have had parents who didn't break the generational curses for them, and we're on that path now. That's a tough path. I will tell you that. I mean, I spent 5 years growing out of it, and I'm only now becoming what I would consider successful, But I mean, it's
Truly knowledgeable about it. So because you broke up a little bit, there's a little bit of
sorry.
Wi-Fi, I think. So repeat the name of the company that led you to change, the
Yeah,
way.
Revolution Financial Management.
Okay, so they're an organization, and
Mhm.
what specifically do they do? And you know what? And I got a couple questions that we got to go back to, but what exactly does this organization do? I mean, you jumped on a call, and what were they doing? Recruiting people to join?
No, what we were doing is, so we teach 4 main pillars. So we help with long-term and short-term savings. So how to have 3 to 6 months of your income, like complete income, saved in the bank, ready to go in case of emergencies, because stuff happens.
Right.
Um, Also help with long-term savings, so planning for retirement, making sure that you're not going to be SOL by the time that you decide you want to retire and not work anymore. We also help with getting out of debt, how credit cards work, how interest works, making sure that you have insurance protection. So, life insurance. If you don't have it, we can help you figure out what you need and if you need it and how to use that while you're still alive. We also, if you do have it, we help you figure out what you have, because a lot of times people just get sold something they don't need and they're like, this sounds good, but nobody ever really takes the time to explain it. I mean, it's a lot. And then we also help make sure that that's as tax-free as possible. Because I mean, I'm not super political, but we don't want our hard-earned money going to unnecessary taxes. And
Right.
I mean,
Right.
there are people out there who are going to take advantage of you anyway, so you might as well have the upper hand.
Yeah. So knowledge is power,
Yeah,
as
definitely.
you say. So the call that you got on, it was an informational session. It was something to
Mhm.
teach you about it, and then what, hire them in order to help you figure your life out.
We don't charge our clients, so we work with over 230 different insurance companies, and how our structure work is they pay us out of their marketing budget. So it's kind of like how a real estate system works, except that we don't have agent fees,
Okay. Okay.
which
So
is
there's
really
no.
nice. We're
This is
leveling the playing
beautiful.
field.
So
Yeah.
people are thinking, hey, I need that kind of advice, but I don't have the money to do that, right?
Mhm.
They can get on a call with you. You can advise them on all these different aspects. And actually, who's paying you is the people that you would be recommending, right? And I'm
Yep.
sure that you have several,
Oh yeah.
depending on the person's situation where they would fall into. Love that, love that, love that. Because I think a lot of hesitancy with people is they always know I have limited funds to begin with. Somebody that needs this kind of counseling is already in a bind, right?
Right.
And they're
Mhm.
like, I can't get into any more of a bind and I can't afford to have somebody consult. But guys, yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. You just heard it.
We're out
You have the
there. Yeah.
call for this. I love this. I love it, love it, love it. Because I know there's a lot of people out there that do this, but for a fee, right?
Yep.
So you have to pay this fee, and
Mhm.
you guys are different because of that.
Mhm.
So that's great. Listen, I got to get back to welding. Did you? I'm stuck there, right?
That's okay. Yeah.
I'm stuck there because and then a definition of cutting horses, riding cutting
Oh
horses.
yeah.
I don't know what that
Yeah.
is. So I'm sure
Sorry.
there's a lot of people that don't know.
I just
So
flew over that.
let's go back to welding. Did you do
Okay.
that as a trade?
Yes, I did that for 12 years. I went to high school for that. I don't know if you know any of the different kinds of welding, but I did stick welding for high school. My 2 years, I went to technical school,
Okay.
um, which is a lot of times you see people out in the field in like ranches and they're welding like pipe or barns. That's stick welding because you don't necessarily need power for that, like
Okay.
electricity. A lot of times they'll have generators and such. Then I went to, right after high school, I spent the summer hanging out with my friends, and then I went to college for it, trade school. I can't, it was a long time ago. I think I spent like 6 or 8 months welding in school, and that was about it, which is really nice because I have no college debt.
Well, this is again, so it actually did help you to be able to sustain yourself for a while,
Yeah,
right?
definitely. Definitely.
It seems to me that welders make good money, right? If yeah, so the reason you didn't was because
Um, Well, I made good money there. But I went back and forth between horses and welding so much throughout the years. And like
It
I
has
said,
to be your
nobody taught
passion.
me how to budget. Nobody taught me how to save money, so I just blew it. You know, there
Okay.
was one point in my life I was making $1,000 a week and I blew it. I don't even know
Oh
where I
my
blew it on.
Lord. You see, guys, so I just want to know welding is a good field if you're thinking about it, right? You can make good money, but you got to have this education. You have to know financial management so that when you're making good money,
You
you're
don't.
doing something, you're saving for the future, you have for next week, next year. Okay,
Yeah.
great. So, horses. Then you went into riding, cutting horses. Explain that to me.
Okay. So essentially, cutting horses is you have a group of cows in an arena, and the horse and rider's job is to go out and select a cow and keep it out of the herd for a certain amount of time. And you get scored on points. You get scored on the cow, how the cow moves. There's a lot of different ways you get scored on it. But what it comes from is way back in the day, they had to brand their cows so they didn't get stolen.
Hmm.
Um, and so they had to cut them out of the herd, cull them out, and then keep them out, and then until someone could rope them and tie them, and they had to take care of them, especially if they got sick. They had to give them shots, stuff like that, and they still do it. I've had an ex-boyfriend, we had a branding and we all did it by horse. It was really fun. So a lot of times now people just do it in shoots, but it's tradition, so that's where it comes from.
Okay.
um, and basically what my job was, I was a glorified groom. I had to like take care of the horses, make sure they got cooled down, make sure they got warmed up, because horses are athletes. And
Mhm.
if they don't get proper care and like how if you go for a 3 mile run cold, like right out of bed, you're gonna get hurt.
Yeah. You're going to
Same
get
thing.
hurt, right?
Same thing. So I got to ride all day. It was great. I got to go on the road. We drove 10 horse trailers to Idaho, Vegas twice. It was fun. Went to Oklahoma. Um,
Wow. Okay. So those were great experiences because you love doing that.
yeah.
But when you love doing something and you have to do it, right? Doesn't it
I was
become
working
like it's
oh,
now a
yeah.
job?
Yeah. I was working 80 hours a week, maybe even 100, just because I never clocked off. Like, it was just I lived there, and they expected you to work all the time, and
Wow.
I got burned out real fast. I
Were
mean,
there other women there with you?
yeah, there was a couple.
Okay. It's a predominantly what male kind of field or is it equal?
I don't know, honestly. It's pretty
Yeah.
equal.
It's
Welding is
pretty
definitely a male-dominated field still, definitely. Um, Cutting horse trainers, like the people that actually work the horses, it's predominantly male. There are a few kick-ass women out there who do it. They're great. But yeah, that part is. But the lopers and the help, that's predominantly female. So it's kind of even, I guess.
it's mixed. Yeah, it's mixed, the experience. Okay. So now you get this call. Now you're connected with this financial company, right? And what part of it spoke to you that you said this is something I may want to be doing?
At first, I just needed the help. I
Okay.
wasn't making the money. Honestly, it was just me having no means and understanding of anything.
Being tired of being,
I was tired of being broke.
yeah, tired of being broke, right? There you go. There you go.
uh,
Tell the truth.
I'm not gonna. Yeah, I'll admit that I was really just tired of being broke. After that, though, I mean, after I got out of cutting, I went back to welding for a couple years. I did do that, um, and then something struck me this past year, like in December. I just wasn't doing anything for the greater good welding. I was sticking two pieces of metal together. It was a good job. Like, it made money. I was safe. I was comfortable, but
Mhm.
I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't helping people. I wasn't saving lives. I wasn't changing anything. I was just existing, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
100%. You have to have purpose in this world, right? We can do things like that temporarily while we're trying to figure ourselves out because we got
Mhm.
to figure out who we are, what is our why? Why do we do things?
Yeah.
And then once we start going down that path, then we have to figure out what are we going to do for the rest of our years that's going to truly make an impact and leave a legacy behind.
Mhm.
And that's where
I
you were.
wanted I wanted to leave a legacy for my future family, but I mean, honestly, I realized that all through the years of personal development, like my story, I mean, not that I'm try to tell it to everybody and I'm just now learning that it's important. Um, but like if you have, my biggest thing is that if you have the ability to be successful and leave a path and show people out of hell, you also have the responsibility to do that. And
I agree.
it struck me and I was like, okay, I have to do that. So I did coat welding. I got a part-time job so I wouldn't be super broke, and I went full time. So now I do this full time. Um, I'm very excited about it. I love helping parents. I mean, the thing is if you can help parents understand how financial education works, you're going to eliminate 90% of divorces. You're going to eliminate stress. You're going to eliminate having the problems that maybe you have, that money causes, you know. And I mean, money isn't everything. Money is a tool, but
Right.
it's a useful tool. And if you have the means and understanding, you also aren't going to rely on crappy relationships. You aren't going to rely on your parents. You aren't going to rely on people who may not have your best interest at heart just because you have the trauma of, you know, not having the means to take care of yourself. And ultimately, it's going to trickle down to your kids. So, like, if you break the generational curse that your family had mentally, not just like
Right.
financially, but you did that. You have that success. You have that pride. You did that. That was all you. Um, and then your kids see that. Your kids see mom and dad are great. Mom and dad are okay. Mom and dad know how to navigate adulthood. Um, and then they're going to learn money. They're going to learn how to have a successful relationship down the road. And ultimately, I wanted to help kids. That was my main thing. But then I realized that I can teach a class to the kids. I can do that,
Hmm.
just me. But if their parents are showing that to them every day, that's going to leave more of an impact than just me teaching a class.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's truly family centered,
Yes.
right? The good thing about teaching children and hosting classes for children or going into educational institutions and hosting things for kids is that sometimes you don't have the buy-in of the parent, right? Sometimes the parent is resistant because I went into that a lot when I worked in New York City in the Lower East Side, which is a lower income area, right? Where just as you speak, they only know what they know and what they've been taught, and unfortunately
Right.
they weren't taught a lot of things, and finances is only one piece
Mm-hmm.
of a life, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole mindset. It's a piece of a bigger thing, right? That goes along with how you live your life. It's a piece of it. It's an important piece. It's an important piece because when you don't have that together, you're always in survival mode, and you
Yes.
can't develop yourself until you get out of survival mode,
Right.
worrying about where you're going to get your meal, how you're going to pay your bills. If that were taken care of, then you could work on the other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, but sometimes they're resistant to somebody telling them that they're doing it wrong because that's how they've been doing it for so many years.
Right.
So, the family approach, I think, is definitely something to look at. And as many parents as you can get, 100%. And those children are going to become parents one day too,
Exactly.
right? So
I mean,
everybody gets a little bit of education in case they don't have the support, right? Of because I'm sure you talk about your mom a little bit in the beginning there, right? And the struggles that she's had and the curses. She probably you wouldn't have listened to you if you
right.
were giving her advice and saying, this is the
Definitely.
way that you should, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
With somebody like you who you're talking to when you're talking to teenagers or talking to that say, hey guys, I was you. That's part of your story.
Right.
I didn't get that. And they may not be, ready to hear that, but that's okay because you can make the changes. And when they see you being successful in making those changes, that will inspire them too. So I love, 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 that you're willing to do both. Right. But I believe as you do that when you change the parent, you change the family structure, you
Yes.
help families stay together. Right. Because that's one of the top three things that failed marriages are about is finances, the fighting over finances.
Yeah. And I love it because I think that to be successful and healthy, I guess, you need to be mentally, emotionally, physically, and financially, and spiritually. You know, if that's something you,
Yeah.
I believe that there's something out there, you know, but I don't cater to just one specific type of spirituality person, you know.
Mhm.
Um, but anyway, like in order, they all tie together. You know, you have to have the emotional intelligence. I think that is the most important, honestly. You have to have the financial aspect of it to even survive in this world, you know. Physically, I feel like I'm a big gym girl, so like I feel like every time I go to the gym, I feel better. I have the endorphins. I have my body moving. I feel more alive and happier. And then just physically, financially, emotionally.
Yeah,
uh,
everything, they all tie together,
yeah,
right? We are not just a body, and we
right.
can work all we want on our body, but if our minds aren't right, if our
Yeah.
spirits aren't right, and the spirits is a feeling, if that isn't right, right? If our thoughts aren't right, if our thoughts are negative, if our thoughts are not
Yeah.
on the right path, it's going to affect every other thing. We have to be synergistically well,
Hmm.
right? But you know, as being when you were tired of being broke, when you were broke, right? And you're just existing,
Hmm.
right? Were you able to work on all these other things?
Nope.
No, they all suffered. You can't even think past that.
Yeah.
So step one is learn to put yourself in a better situation so that you can.
Hmm. Definitely, 100%. That's it. That's a wrap.
That's a wrap. That's a wrap. So with that, tell us through all your experiences, right? And now you're a public speaker, right?
I am. Yes, I
In
am.
what stages have you spoken, and are you going to be speaking in the future where people may want to come see you speak?
I certainly hope so. I don't have anything planned yet for the future, but I'm working on it. Um,
Okay.
I have spoken on stages at conventions with our company, it was super exciting. That was one of my first times. There was about 1,000 people in there. I was terrified, but it was great. Um, Everything you want is on the other side of fear, right? You have to just
Oh
do
my
it.
God.
Action
Yes.
counts.
Yes. Yeah. I say one of the things about me is I was fearful even as a child. When you're shy and as a child and you're
Mhm.
fearful, and fear is the number one thing that stops you from living your life
Yes.
to the fullest. But for some reason, you were cut from the herd. You were separated from the herd, right? And as you say, you knew intrinsically that you had a bigger mission on this earth
Yeah.
so that you could then bring that herd with you.
Yeah, I
Say, "Hey,
like that.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna figure this out. I'm gonna figure it out." Right? And then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna tell you guys how I did it so that you guys can follow me out too. That's
Yes.
what you're doing. So I
Yes.
love that. As you're talking, I'm like, "Oh my God, that's her being cut away from the from the
I guess
herd."
it worked out better than I thought, huh?
There's more to the story. That's it for
Yes.
future speeches. Just a little. That's it. Truly, because I can see that whole weaving into your story, right? On who you are as a person and what you're trying to do in this on this earth. So love your story. I'm gonna be watching you,
Thank
right? And for you guys, I'm gonna be including her information in the comments. So if you want to get a hold of Claire, and as you heard, getting advice from her, no cost to you right now, right? It's no cost, and she can advise you on how to take that first step forward, a very important step. So, Claire, here we go to my last question that I ask everyone. And that is, what is your definition today of success?
Slow mornings. Um, Having enough money to protect yourself, your family, and people who can't protect themselves. That's success. That's wealth. Um, and I think having the means to take a day off in the middle of the week, you know, making sure that you don't have to have a 9 to 5. You don't have to be stuck somewhere if you don't want to. Having the means to do what you want when you want to, um, that's success to me.
That's
So
beautiful.
I'm
I,
almost there.
I love that. I love that definition. And I think my mom, who I lost in 2020, but throughout my youth, when I was a little girl, would always tell me the same thing. right? Is to make sure that you're independent, that you never have to worry about how you're going to feed your family, how
Mhm.
you're going to have a roof over, that you have that confidence in yourself that you can do it and you can make it
Yes.
and take those steps to do that.
Yes.
So beautiful.
Success is definitely having confidence that no matter what, you got this.
You got this.
You got this, because you do. Everything you need is already inside you, and all you have to do is step into that power.
Amen, sis. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And for my viewers, I will see you next time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.